Okay, let's take a look at another example of broken authentication with the forgot password. Now, an example of this, we're going to take a look at our webgoat. We introduced ourselves to the webgoat in the previous video, and now we're about to do another challenge using this application. So let's click on OWASP webgoat. Let's log in with guest and guest. Now we can log in with any account that we want. We know that there is an OWASP account, and we also know that there is a basic account. But it doesn't matter for this task. All we have to do is start our webgoat right here and navigate to the authentication flaws and then forgot password. Okay. Now, let's read through the task. Web applications frequently provide their users the ability to retrieve a forgotten password. Unfortunately, many web applications fail to implement the mechanism properly. The information required to verify the identity of the user is often overly simplistic. Okay, let's take a look at the general goals. Users can retrieve their password if they answer the secret question properly. There is no lockout mechanism on this forgot password page. Okay, and that is the first vulnerability. Every time a page should block an account or block an IP address once they type the secret question incorrectly for 3 or 5 times, and also once they type the password incorrectly for multiple times. Then the page should lock you out or block you for a certain period of time. And that is a good practice against brute force attacks that we're going to take a look at in the next section. But for now on, let's solve this challenge. So webgoat password recovery. Please input your username, cd OWASP admin if you do not have an account. Required fields, username. Now, we already know of a couple of usernames, but for this video we're going to try to brute force a username. We will use a list of most common usernames in order to see whether this application has a username like that. So how are we going to do that? Well, it's rather simple. Let's type anything right here. So for example, let's type test and we're going to intercept our request. Let's submit this HTTP request and this is the one that we want to use. As we can see, we have a field called username and that field we want to send to intruder. Let's turn off the intercept. Of course, we are going to get not a valid username because test account does not exist on this page. But inside of our intruder, we can set our payloads accordingly in order to try to guess a username. Okay, let's clear out all of the fields. And this can be considered a semi-brute force attack because we are going to try to brute force a username as well as the secret question. Okay, first of all, we want to select the username field. I select it by clicking on add, and now we want to go to payloads. Here we want to load a list of most common usernames, and luckily our Kali Linux actually has some word lists that can help us do this. All we have to do is click on load and navigate to the word lists directory. So make sure that you go first to the / directory, then to the user, right here. Then let's go to share. Then let's try to find word lists directory, which is right here. In the word lists, I'm going to go to Metasploit, and from here I can choose the best list that fits this challenge. And for this, I'm going to go with http default users.txt. I'm going to double click on that, and it will load these usernames right here as my payload list. Okay, awesome. All we have to do right now is start the attack. And how are we going to know which username is correct and which isn't? Well, usually it's rather simple, and I will show you in just a second how we can recognize it. Okay, our username brute force has finished, and here are all of the results. As you can see, for each of these usernames we got status 200. And there's not really anything right here that says which username is correct and if we even found a single correct username out of these ones. But if we take a closer look at the length of our response, which is right here, this number is the length of our response, you will notice that all usernames have the same length except this one, except the admin username. Usually this is an indication that there is something different with this type of username because it gave a different response than the rest of these ones. So the next thing that we can do, we find the username with a different length, we right click on it, we request or show response in browser. Then we copy the link and navigate to that link inside of our browser. And here's the secret question. Since we got the secret question, that means that we found our existing username. And the secret question is, what is your favorite color? As you can see, this is a really bad question for security because there are like 10 colors in existence and we can easily brute force that the same way that we brute force the username. So let's do that right here. We're going to go to our burp suite, let's go to our proxy and turn on the intercept. Right now we're going to type test once again because we don't really care what we write right here. All we want is to send this HTTP request to the intruder. Turn off the intercept and let's navigate to our positions. Let's clear all of these fields and let's only double click the color field and click on add. Now we go to payloads and here we can manually type the colors. For example, let's go for green, blue, yellow, and let's type every single color that we can think of. Let's go with green, let's go with black, white, and let me see, brown, perhaps, and maybe I forgot something, but let's give it a try with these colors first. So we loaded 9 payloads or 9 colors, and if we start the attack, we're pretty much looking for the same thing. We're looking for a color with a different response. But here we actually got more than 2 lengths. We got colors with this length, we got colors with this length right here, and we got a single color with this length, which is 31973. And usually this is the one that you want to check first because it has a unique length, which usually means that it's the correct one. So let's right click on green and let's show response in browser, copy this and navigate to our Firefox and paste the link. And here it is. We successfully guessed the username as well as the secret question for this account. So what exactly was a vulnerability here? Well, there are 2 things wrong with this. The first thing is that it doesn't block us after certain incorrect requests. And the second thing is that the secret question is rather easy and we guessed it in 2 seconds. Now we have finished this challenge and we have username admin, color green, and here is the password for the admin account. Okay, awesome. We have one more challenge or one more example left to do from our OWASP WebGoat application, and after that we're going to move to the brute forcing section. See you in the next lecture.